Let me show you how to properly fit a taillight into your Aston Martin DB9. In this episode of Aston1936.com, I'm going to show you how to refit the taillight assembly into my 2005 DB9. I think it's pretty much universal across the DB9, DBS, Virage. It's a pretty common design. It's pretty much similar to the Vanquish, where Rich from redpants.lol did a video on how you do that, but the interior is a little bit different on the Vanquish because it's a hatchback. So I wanted to show you the right way to fit it up. I've had mine out because I was doing some wiring to fit a rear parking camera that was sneaking through the area. You might have yours out because you were changing to the clear rear lens option, which is pretty popular for the guys that have the silver and gray and black cars. But I like the red. A lot of people have these light assemblies fail, so maybe that's why you're replacing yours as you're putting a brand new one in that actually works. So let's get started on putting it in. And the first thing you're going to notice that if you watched my removal video is I fitted blue painter's tape around the opening. These threaded screws that are on the back of the light unit bump up against this while you're handling it. You're going to try your best not to do that, but you were going to nudge into that. So best to have a little protection there just to protect you from yourself. And we're going to need a few basic tools that I've got laid out here in the boot. Got a 19mm wrench. I've got a couple of non-marring pry tools that I'm going to be using as shims, an inspection light, and a shop towel is always a good idea as well. Here's the nuts and washers that came off the unit. To get started, we're going to, basically offer up the light unit to the car. And we have to worry about getting the electrical connector done. So the electrical connection has this lock system that needs to be completely open so that the electrical connectors can slide in easily. And then once we've got it pushed home on the back of the light unit, we're going to basically slide this and lock it on tight. So now I'm going to bring the unit in. I'm going to start, lining, kind of aiming the holes. I'm going to try not to chip my paint. I'm worrying about that over there. And I'm keeping a little bit of angle here. So I'm just reaching in here and I'm getting the connection pushed on, and it goes on really easy. And then I'm going to, while I'm pushing in with these fingers, I'm going to push the lock tab home. And that's it. Give it a good solid wiggle. Yeah, that's not coming off. So with that part done, now I'm just going to literally aim the screws through the holes and get it loosely into position. So at this point you could just run in there and slam the nuts on and call it good. But if you're really trying to do it properly, you're going to try to get an even panel gap around the edges and get this to line up. So I'm no expert at body work, but what I'm going to do is use my non-marring pry tools, and I'm going to shim the light unit up a little bit to start with. Because I'm thinking, well, if I kind of get it in and tighten it up while it's a little bit high in the opening, once I pull these shim tools out and it sags a little bit on its own weight, maybe it'll even out. And I'm also scooting it over to the left, probably as much as I can get it there so that it's following this line with the bumper. So as I was editing the video, I realized I wanted to talk a little bit more about how you would actually adjust the fitment of the light. Because if you just took your taillight assembly out and we're just putting it back in, you don't need to sit and adjust the adjusters because it's probably perfect already. So you can just fit it back in, put the nuts on, and you'll be good. But if you had a different light assembly, and Rich at Red Pants had talked about this as well, on the back, each of the three studs actually has sort of a two-stage bolt. It has an inner bolt and an outer bolt. And this is the part that rests against the car. And it has this threaded part that you can actually adjust from the inside while the lamp is in the vehicle. So you would have the nut removed. And if you used an 11/32 6-point socket, you can get on and turn these in and out just to make the adjustment that you would need to get the fit a little bit better. So that's pretty cool. So the other thing that's pretty notable, the cameraman Rob tuned me into, is that there's 3 mounting points, and you can utilize that to your advantage. Let's say the lamp is fitting too far, tipped back this way, so it's in too far at the top while it's in the proper alignment at the bottom. You could just back out the top one. That'll rotate the unit out, so you leave the bottom ones in place. So the top one will give you your sort of in and out, or if it was the other way around, you had your top perfectly adjusted and you needed to kick your bottom in or out, you would turn the bottoms in and out. So you can, that's your vertical alignment sort of adjustment. And then of course, right, if you turn these ones in partially, you could, you know, swing the unit this way or bring this one out. So you could basically, you know, do a manipulation of the unit any which way you want while you're basically getting the fitment perfect on the top, perfect at the bottom, perfect on this corner, and, you know, trying your best to get this outer edge perfect. Now I haven't been able to get this one perfect, but it matches up how good the other side is. So I think this, you're kind of just stuck with the curvature you get of the unit. The other piece of advice I'd heard was don't try and bend the unit to fit. Oh yeah, man, well, it doesn't match the curvature quite right, so I'm just gonna tighten the hell out of the nut on this one and pull it in. Well, you'll end up delaminating the plastic or cracking the plastic if you really went to that extreme. So you just wanna work with it, you know, within sort of the limitations of it being plastic and these 3 adjusters. But that's, and you just do the adjustments, fit it. You don't have to put the nuts on. Sit there and make your adjustments from the inside, just keeping your hand kind of pressing it into place and feeling it adjusting in and out as you use the ratchet and adjusting these nuts. And then once you have it lined up, it's time to move on and start putting the nuts on. So with the shims in place, now it's time to move on to getting the nuts loosely started on the inside. So what they have for hardware, as you saw in the removal video, is there's a big flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut. And if you were paying close attention in my removal video, I did not have these sealing washers, and they're supposed to fit between the body of the vehicle and the big washer. These were missing, so I don't know if they were missing from the factory or because my car had been resprayed, maybe the body shop was negligent and didn't put them back in. So I bought a 6-pack of these from Scuderia Car Parts online. This is nothing more than a piece of probably 1/8-inch thick foam that's the size of the big washer with a small hole punched in the middle of it. And these cost $3.65 each US plus all the shipping. I think it was 50 bucks for me to get these 6 pieces of foam. But they're, you know, essentially a critical part of trying to keep the inside of your car dry and your boot. So in the UK, I wouldn't skip this at all. And then they're just a fit over. You know, you just slide them on. They're made a little bit undersized on the hole so that they seal a little bit better. And then you would fit your big flat washer over top. And that's a nice fit. And then I'm going to just hand start each of the nuts. So at this point though, you've done all your fettling, right? You've done all that inner nut adjustment stuff that I talked about earlier in the video. And now we're just trying to get the nuts on to start snugging up the car. So I'm just doing a little fettling here before I start tightening things up. Some gentle pushing and prodding to get it lined as best as I can. And now I'm going to put a little bit of tension on these nuts. I'm not going to torque the heck out of them. All right, so now I'm going to do sort of a fitment check. I want to look at the gaps. And it's looking pretty good. You know, it's, you can always compare to the other side of your car, but you know, it's looking like a pretty even line around there. It's a little tight there and a little loose up there. I mean, if I could get it to go up a little higher, I would, but I had the shims in there. And I think that's probably just the natural position that this thing's going to want to sit in. So take your time at this point, get everything fettled up, and then I'm going to spend a little time off camera getting mine tuned, and then we can look at the results. So it took a couple of minutes for me to get the gaps to the best condition that I could. So now I want to kind of just give it a final snug up with the wrench. Again, you're not trying to break these things off, and you just want them not to fall off. All right, probably be a good idea to hop in the car and do a brake light check. So that's a pretty simple, about 10-minute job. Now you can get on with putting your right rear inner trunk liner back in to cover up the nuts, and you're finished up. So down here you'll find a link to my companion blog article. I'll probably have a link to those rubber gaskets if there are something I'm supposed to have in my car, and any other sort of tip that I can add. Up here you'll find the next video in my series. It's probably going to be a link to how to take the taillight out in case you didn't watch that. And down here, if you like videos like this, please go ahead and subscribe. You'll get automatically notified when I come out with a new video. And as always, I love to hear your comments of, have I done this right? Have I done this wrong? Please go ahead and tell me down below. Thanks for watching.